Hi, good evening. This is Anna Olsen with Insights into Consciousness. I'm your host tonight on tonight's show here on A1R Radio. I am coming to you tonight with some tools and tricks for your own space clearing and cleansings, with an explanation as to why we use them, in addition to the power of our thoughts, consciousness, and the present moment. So if you've ever heard of Eckhart Tolle and his book, Power of Now, or A New Earth, or any of his writings or teachings, you'll understand what I mean by taking advantage of the present moment. And I'm going to delve into that even further, into the spirit world and how that works with the spirit world. So first of all, before I do anything, a show or a reading, or medium readings especially, I do, and I didn't used to do this, and that's okay if you didn't used to do this before this show. It's something to remember to start. It's something to get in the habit of doing, and it's for good reason. So just as a little bit of a background, the reason why we do space clearings is to set the intention in the correct manner and in the correct way before we do anything spiritually. The reason for that is that when we're going to prepare ourselves spiritually to do something, we need to be on the right frequency. We need to be in the right space to attract the correct things that we want to attract. Now, first off, I've done medium readings since I was a child. I have always had this experience. While I have gone through a lot of it, I didn't realize it was different than other people. Now that I realize that, that said, it's important to know that everybody has a different level of ability. Everybody has their own unique set of intuition, and that some people really don't get very connected to the spirit world until they lose a loved one, or maybe they're not sure how to identify it. But if you are privy to that ability, and that is more your thing, and you start to find that out more and more as time goes on, it's important to know how to protect yourself. And the first thing that comes to my mind when I'm talking about all of this stuff is a really popular medium who does readings for the public. And she went into her background, and when she was a child, how she was pretty scared because there were times that she would get messages from spirit, and it wasn't always positive. It would scare her because she had a very limited understanding as a child. So I definitely have had some of those experiences, and I have definitely, as I grew up, had to get through those sorts of experiences where I needed to really figure it out and get more experience with it before I fully understood even what was going on. So when you're, even an adult, and you have these experiences with spirit, or you have these experiences with those who have passed, it can feel intimidating. It can feel unsure. We're not sometimes sure what it is or how it works or what to do. So I'm going to give some of those little skill sets and tools tonight, and I'd also like to go into why they work. Now, there are people who are ghost hunters. If you're a ghost hunter and you're focusing on connecting with spirit, and you don't really know how to protect or to put yourself on the right frequency, I don't see that as a good use of time. That's just my own personal belief. I feel like we should focus more on our own energy and our own time and our own lives and what's happening in our own lives. Now, everybody has different feelings about this, but I do also believe that if somebody's out looking for an energy or a spirit, that they're going to find one. And if they're not properly protecting or using the right tools to clear their space first, that they don't know exactly what they're going to attract or connect to. And that's not something any of us, I think, want cords to. We create these cords to things or to spirits or to entities and to our past loved ones. And as an example, when I knew that I could connect with spirit, but I wasn't really sure why or what the purpose was, I would sit down and watch true crime mysteries. This was one of my favorite shows. And I would sit down and start watching the show that it was my first time watching the show. And I would start seeing the person who was either murdered or the murderer who had passed in my mind. And I would I would have conversations to practice with these spirits, and they would send me messages back and forth, and I would say it out loud, and I would say that I was guessing, but really the past victim or the actual the assailant would be actually communicating with me, or a friend of the assailant or whatnot, if they had passed. So I would be sitting there on the couch watching these true crime mysteries and blurting out the correct answers. I will be like, he told the girlfriend, and then she told the brother, and then the brother got angry and killed him to cover for the girlfriend. And I would just blurt out all these things. And I think everybody kind of guessed that since my dad was a homicide detective, that maybe I had that in my genes. And I do think that I do, but it wasn't in the way that they suspected. So now looking back, there were a couple times where when I connected with spirit, I was intimidated. I right away told them to leave, and I did not feel comfortable. Looking back, I wouldn't do that again, because I want to keep my space very clean, very clear of anything negative. Once you have it in your space, there's an electromagnetic field that has an energy effect, and really we want to keep that as pure and as clean and as light as possible, because that's what we're working with here. We're working with love and light and positivity. And I know that positive work can be done even though the spirit or the entity may be negative. But especially when you're starting out, that's something to be clear and careful of. And we want to really connect with the positive and the higher love, joy frequencies. And eventually Christ consciousness, which is at the top of this chart or realm or whatever you want to call it, what have you, this vibe that you can ascend to with this work. And there are tools that we can use that not just work to set our intention and to put us into the right frame of mind, but they can also they have scientific background processes that clear and cleanse energy. And we've been using these for centuries, I'd say thousands of years. We've had even different herbs or sage or whatnot used and burned in temples in ancient Egypt. And we have note of this. We have record and history of this. This is nothing brand new. And we are actually trying to relearn some of these things that have become extinct, some of these processes and practices that have become extinct over time and through lost records or lost ways of knowing how to do these cleansing and clearing techniques. So the first one I want to go into is sage. It's a really, really popular one. And I think everybody kind of knows about the bundle of sage that you light on fire, you blow it out once it gets kind of smoldery, and you will go around the room and cleanse the area. It's good to open windows first. It gets very, very smoky sometimes. And it can also, if you have allergies and things, some people have a little bit of a reaction to it. So it's good to just open up the windows and kind of air it out. So what that does is not only does it clear the energy, and make it more positive or clear the space for positive energy. We now have science, and this is the funny thing, is now the scientists have picked up on it. Now they know that it works by scientific processes where they went into a room, saged the room, closed the door. After, they have a before and after test on the quality of air in the room. The quality of air beforehand was loaded with bacteria. If somebody went in there and breathed in that bacteria, they would have to detox that and filter that through their lungs and through their breathing and respiratory system. But after they did the sage, they tested the air, and it was 99.98% cleansed of bacteria. There was no more bacteria in the air. And then they did a further study where they closed the door after saging and waited days at a time to see if that would last, because naturally the bacteria will again start to come in and breed, bigger again in the room and spread. And they came back, after 3 days, after 5 days, after 7 days. And again, it was very, very clean. So this has lasting effects, the saging. And because most people know what the regular sage bundle does, I also picked up some loose sage here. You can buy it in little baggies. You can also just collect whatever falls off of your bundle. This is a beautiful white sage that I bought locally here, and I love buying locally from our shop owners. Bought this one at Halcyon Post Office and Store, where I do a lot of readings, and it smells wonderful. And what you would do with this loose sage is you would basically treat it like an herb that you would be burning for whatever reason. And you can get these incense burners that are, you can call it a cauldron. It's a pot. It's nice, thick cast iron, and you can put a little. I know there's a couple that are already burned in here, but you can put a little charcoal that will light very quickly and easily. You light it up, it gets very hot. You put it in the bottom. You can put any kind of incense on top of it. It'll start to smolder and burn. Then you can sprinkle some of this sage. You open that puppy up, you sprinkle some over it. And what happens is the smoke comes up and clears the area. And then you can go ahead without having to worry about, like little embers or whatnot falling off. You just carry it around, and you can clear the area that way, or you can keep it in one place to do one certain area. And that's another way to do sage. And you can also add some other herbs on there for different reasons, purposes. You can research that. And then we have Palo Santo. This is a type of wood, and it smells sweet and wonderful. It has a really neat aroma. Some people prefer this over the sage if they're allergic to the sage. But the Palo Santo really does have a beautiful aroma, and it, again, you light the tip. You'll let it burn for a bit till there's some glowing red embers in there, and then you'll blow out the fire, let it smoke and smolder, and you'll just pass it and carry it around wherever it is that you would like to cleanse. And you can also use a big feather. I don't have mine here, but you can get a big feather and kind of fan that around into corners. You want to get the corners the most. You want to get under things. You can kind of see wherever it's dark, wherever the lights didn't hit as much, you want to get in there with your sage, your Palo Santo, and you'll kind of have an intuition about which one you like, especially after you use it for a while. You'll kind of get a feel of which one you like, and you can play with different ones. There's different types of sage. There's different bundles with some rose petals in there for different reasons, different purposes, and that's really, really a wonderful way to get any negative energy, even bacteria, cleared out of your space, especially when you move in somewhere, if there's been anything negative that's happened, if you have a weird vibe somewhere. And this is what I really want to focus on, that when we cleanse, the most important thing is our intention and what we are thinking. So our thoughts are things, and this cleanses the space for us to reprogram the energy in the area. Now, when we cleanse it, that makes room for something new. While we cleanse, we want to raise the vibration very high. We want it to be whatever it is that you would like to attract: abundance, money, protection, love, harmony, peace. Anything that's highest in your mind, opposing whatever negative is happening. So whatever overcomes in positivity, that negativity that's going on, is what you want. If somebody is sick or dealing with a health issue, you're gonna really focus on health. You're gonna see and feel health. You're going to clear out. You don't want to focus so much on the bad. You want to just really think about what's good and attract that into the space as you cleanse. Even you want to see all that energy get real high up this way, and real high up in the frequency, so that it's nice and positive, full of love, full of peace. We want peace. We want all of that. You can also add, when I was in a custody battle with, my ex-husband, luckily I won full custody, but I definitely would raise the vibration for, loving, safe environment, not being affected by the court process, having the wherewithal and the energy to deal with it. On and on and on. I know a lot of people are dealing with this, and everybody has their side, but, it's just a really good thing to focus on all the good things, such as safe home environment, ease of paying the attorney, just think of all the good things that you want. You don't want to think about what you don't want as much in this process. You want to think about what you want to draw in and cleanse to prepare for. So some people play music that's really light and fun, your favorite music, anything positive with good lyrics. You want the good lyrics because, again, our words, if you think about how we say that we spell words. Well, what does that mean exactly? We spell words because it's part of what they can call a spell. It's words are powerful, and when we have words in our minds, it creates a thought. A thought is a thing, and it projects results. So we're going to have this actual result of a thought. We are creators. We are made in the image of God and Goddess, and we create and we set intention to create just like they do. And we're in our little practice ground right now. We're at our university, getting used to having these bodies and controlling our surroundings. That is the intention. What do you want to draw in? You put out what you want to draw in, become a magnet of what you want to draw in. So we have, again, cleansing the space. Another way that we can do that is with a singing bowl here that I have. I have a teeny tiny one. These are all usually handmade, hammered, and they're really, really neat little bowls, but you can get bigger ones. You can get them as big as, huge. You can also get crystal bowls that have an absolutely beautiful tone, and they all are usually right at the same frequency in a note of the different chakras of the body. So you can also focus on which chakra you'd like to cleanse when you're doing this. I think that this is the second chakra tone. So that would be the sacral chakra. And that has a lot to do with what you find pleasurable, what you find fun, the good things in life. So, you can just strike it, and the sound travels through the area, and it's sort of like shaking the energy loose. It's reprogramming it again. When you're doing this, you're sending these sound waves throughout the air. These are measurable. These sound waves are measurable. These are real scientific facts. So when these sound waves travel in a frequency, in a wave through the air, through our environment, there's an energy projected. Now, when we're projecting energy in an outward motion, what happens is we are sending a message throughout that area. We are programming the energy with our thoughts. So you're in the center of the projection of the sound and the energy, the sound wave. You want to program each one of those sound waves before you strike with the intention that you want, and that will send that intention out in your environment so that you will attract that. Anything that comes into the environment after that is opposed to what you programmed your energy in that room with, anything negative or opposite of that will feel very uncomfortable or will be repelled. If they force their way in and you have some sort of, an argument or an episode or whatever, your house is flooded or whatever it is, a tree falls, whatever, you do it again. This is something that you can reprogram and then reprogram just like a computer or a computer chip. And speaking of computer chips, you can also do this with crystals, stones. You're going to cleanse them by either holding them underwater or saging them, or your Palo Santo. You're going to cleanse all the energy around those crystals. You're going to either charge them under the sun. You can put them in the windowsill and that'll charge them up. You can put them under the moonlight. There's all these different ways that you can do that. And then you can put those in your surroundings in certain areas. And you can research all this. It's an exact science, and it's very, very lucrative for people. It's very, very effective for people. So there's a way that you can use not just that, but crystals, which are living things. We've also found through science that those are living things. That's why they grow from carbon. So I also have this really wonderful harvest incense. It's a loose incense. And you can also put this in your cauldron, your incense burner, on your hot charcoal to make the room smell nice, to program your energy with these different qualities. So this is a harvest. This is manifesting what your goals are in your environment with these herbs. So this is a mix of, let's see what's in this one. It is, there's a blackberry leaf, there's allspice, vanilla, rosemary, frankincense. There's all of these really wonderful herbs in here that you burn in your environment, and they're each programmed to do something different in your environment, to also raise the abundance, to attract exactly what you need and want. I know the vanilla can be for love. There's a different, you look up these herbs in different guides and things like that, and you can figure out what those certain herbs are programmed to attract when you burn them or use them. So this is all very exact. And this is a bell. This is a really great little bell. Now, a lot of mediums or readers will use a bell to attract, to get the attention of a spirit. And that's I think that's also how the reader will basically focus as well. So you ring your bell. That's another way to get, this is pretty, you don't have to spend a lot of money on these singing bowls. You can go to, get a bell and use a bell as well. A bell will also work. That's a kind of like a cheaper way to do it if you're limited on income or money, or if you have one around the house, that works too. Now, this is a really wonderful black sand, and I wanted to reiterate that this could also, you could also add a salt to this. And when you use this as a boundary, or as you sprinkle it around, like let's say an area where you want to protect, this is something you can use as, just a little. The black sand with salt, especially sea salt, is very, very effective, or even pink Himalayan salt is very, very effective in guarding and protecting an area. I've used this against a dog that kept going on our yard or in our yard, and it wasn't working out. Okay. So I've done that. Or after I cleanse a space or even our property, not only will I use rose water in a weed killer jug that you get like at the Home Depot or whatever, you can fill it up with rose water, homemade rose water, and you can spray it around the perimeter of your building. You can, just anything, anywhere you want it to be. You want the vibration to be risen up quite a bit with that rose. Rose has the highest frequency of any other plant or flower on the planet. And it's very powerful with these energetic properties. And then once you kind of get everything set in stone, you've got your intentions set, everything's cleansed out, you've got all of your intentions set for what you want to attract and put out, and what kind of environment you want, and all of your goals. You can get out your vision board and stick it out there, and stick it on the wall, and however many vision boards you want, it's up to you. It's all up to you. It's all your space and your doing and your vision, and it's all for you. And then after you program all of this and you've cleansed it, then you have this barrier that you put out to protect anything from coming in. And this, again, has an energetic property. This is a black sand. You can add some salt. Salt is very effective in the corners to not only absorb negative energy, they also find Epsom salt in the bath or in the foot bath will really absorb any negative energy from the body and your aura. This salt does the same in your environment, in your house. When you sprinkle it across your door, your threshold of your door, your front door. You can put it in the corners of all of the rooms. You can put it behind the doors. It absorbs any negative stagnant energy that you want to kind of get out of there, or just in case there's any stagnant energy in the room. This is all science. It's not it works well. I do space clearings and feng shui on businesses all the time, and houses, my house. And every single time I've done it, the energy has kicked up in these businesses and in these places to a degree that is almost unexplainable. And I've had people say, wow, next time let's do it a little more trickle effect, so that the business doesn't just rush straight in the first day. It's been real interesting to see how quickly these businesses pick up the next day and in the next weeks after we do a cleansing and a clearing and a reprogramming. So these are just a few ways that you can do this. Now, When we are going through the cleansing, you got to stay in the present moment. You don't want to go in the past, and you don't want to go in the future. And when I say set your intentions, why would I say stay in the present moment when you're setting an intention? Because when we set intentions and we're attracting abundance, we are experiencing what it is that we want. We are experiencing in the moment, present moment, exactly what we want and what we're drawing in. Now, when I say what we're drawing in, you have to imagine it already happening in the present moment. That connects to spirit, that connects to God. That's God's present moment, because God doesn't have time exactly like we do. It's very different. So that is the strongest portal to get the things that we want to attract in a positive light, to heal our wounds, to get rid of the negative, to get rid of the old. It's not even to get rid of it. It's just not even to focus on it anymore. It'll always be there. And anything that we have experienced, we're now a pro at. All the bad stuff, it's part of what makes us who we are. There's no reason to be shamed about it or to feel bad about it anymore. We're in the present moment, and the present moment is good. There's usually nothing bad happening in the present moment. And if there is, do something about it. That's the main focus there. So I need to go. I've had a lot of fun tonight. I will hopefully see you next week at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, Thursday. Every Thursday, I'm here on A1R, Insights into Consciousness. I'm Anna Olsen. I'm your host tonight, and I will see you next week, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. So I will see you. Thank you.